Today and in this video I will show you exactly how to play a perfect slur on D. On a Hallan pipes and of course also on the practice chanter, because all that you can play on the practice chanter you are able to play on the big Scottish Highland bagpipes. So welcome to my channel Scotland and Bagpipes. My name is Carl and let's go. The slur on D is a very important embellishment when it comes to Scottish technique, because if you are a beginner and you want to learn tunes like Amazing Grace, you will find definitely the slur on D in such tunes. So slur on D, the name says it already, we need to play it on D because it's a slur on D. But what exactly happens? You can play a slur on D from any note of the scale, but we make it easy just for a start. We already grab the note D. If you don't know the notes of the scale, just check out this video here, because you should know how to play the scale for this slur on D exercise. But anyway, D, and what happens on a note D? A G grace note. And again, if you don't know what grace notes are, go and watch this video here and learn how to play grace notes, because we need the G grace note for the slur on D. Slur on D, you open the G grace note finger and close it immediately. So, just a grace note on the note D. Easy. And a strike down to low G and back to D is the second part of the slur on D. So let's play the second part. Now we combine it. Grace note, after that strike. Don't play both at the same time, because you need to hear two things. Grace note, strike. I always watch people who play grace note and strike at the same time. That's not a slur on D. So wait, after the grace note is finished, you're gonna start the strike. Looks and sounds like this. Also, make sure that you hit the low G perfectly. If you just play like a weak strike, not all fingers are on a low G, it sounds like a little bit weak, wacky, not a proper strike. If you cannot play strikes, that means closing some fingers and open them again. In this case, we need 3 fingers for this strike. Just play quarter notes. I mean slow notes. Don't play it as a strike. Practice to learn where the fingers go. So what I mean by that is, and later you can play quicker strikes. So that's not too bad, not too hard, just to play a slur on D, being ready on the note D already. But you can play a slur on D, as I said before, from any note of the scale. If you can play the G grace note from any note of the scale to the note D, because there is something that happens many times as well. People play D, after that the grace note, and then the strike. And that's not a proper slur on D. It would sound like this. We start from the first note of the scale, low G, all fingers closed, and that's the wrong slur on D. Because there is no grace note played on D directly, but after you have the D, and then there is the grace note, and that's too late for a slur on D. So the first thing is we play the grace note to the note D. I start again from the note low G, first note in the scale. And that's it. If you can do that, you can play the slur on D from any note of the scale. For example, let's do it from low A, the next note in the scale. We just lift the pinky, a little small finger here, and again I want to play it on D, as the name says, slur on D, grace note on D, and immediately the strike. So let's do this with the entire scale. That's a good exercise for you. Slur on D from every note that we can play on the bagpipes and on the practice chanter. And as you will notice, from the second last note, high G, We cannot play a G grace note to D because that finger is open. Yeah, it doesn't work. You can only do the following thing. You just hit D without anything and play the strike. Or if you want to play a full slur on D from high G, you can open the thumb, then close all the fingers on the top hand and you are on D and then play the strike. So you just squeeze a little thumb grace note in. Sounds like this. And from the last note, of course, in the scale, the last note is high A. It's not possible to play any grace note to D or to any note. So you just jump from the high A to the note D, play the strike, and that's the slur on D. So I hope you liked the video. If so, I recommend 100% this one here. Go watch it now. See you in the next one. Scotland and bagpipes, and bye.